search every acre in the high-grown field, and bring him to our eye. What can man's wisdom in the restoring his bereaved sense? He that helps him take all my outward worth.
There is there is means, madam. Our foster nurse of nature is proposed, the which he lacks in to provoke in him, are many simple operative, in whose power will close the eye of anguish.
All blessed secrets, all you unpublished virtues of the earth, spring with my tears, be aidant and remediate in the good man's distress. Seek, seek for him, lest his ungoverned rage dissolve the life that wants the means to lead it.
Okay, so before the messenger enters, I just want you to know that they're looking for Lear because he's been described as being like very mad. And so that picture is supposed to depict that he's got, like a wreath of weeds around his head. He's running about the countryside, still acting crazy, even though he's having moments of clarity. But Cordelia says, like, what do you know about science that we can restore his mind? And the doctor just says that really what he needs is rest. And so Cordelia says, all blessed secrets. So she seems to have this ability to evoke some like white magic, not black magic, but white magic. So she is going to be that like good witch kind of, I think, feeling that is created for Lear. Like she is going to have the ability to heal him. Okay. So now the messenger enters. So as soon as she's trying to have this conversation with her father, she's trying to find him and take care of him. We also have that pressure, that suspense and fear that the British Army is coming. So I want you just to notice like the time crunch that we're feeling here. She's trying to reunite with him, try to heal him, and also at the same time preparing for war. So you see how all of these things are sort of contrasted. The loving care for her father, but prepping for war. So this is a lot going on right now.
Miss, I have a question.
Sure.
Is you know how like King Lear has like a crown of reeds? Is that like a Jesus like parallel, like a crown of thorns?
There could be, because there's actually on line 23 and 24 is a reference to Luke. So I don't know if you necessarily, like, Cordelia is the Christ figure of the play, not Lear.
Thank you.
So is that like, is it more just like a childish thing that he's creating this, flower crown, that he's becoming a flower child and running around the field? Is it a mock on his old crown that he used to have as king? Right now he's like the unaccommodated man. So the flower crown is like mocking that he used to be king. You can look at it in a few different ways. But he is definitely not the Christ figure, because he is not sacrificed for the benefit of others. But Cordelia is.
All right, thank you, Miss.
No problem. Okay, so the messenger.
News, madam. The British powers are marching hitherward.
'Tis known before, our preparation stands in expectation of them. O dear father, it is thy business that I go about. Therefore, great France, my mourning and important tears hath pitied. No blown ambition doth our arms incite, but love, dear love, and our aged father's right. Soon I may hear him and see him.
Okay, so this is an important thing that Cordelia says, and I think she says so the audience won't be so upset, because you could imagine the audience being English people would be very upset thinking that there's French forces that are going to come and occupy their land and try to create a war. So what she says is for that she's leading the French army to Britain, not out of a desire for power, but to rescue and support her father. So that's important that she says that, okay? Now, a lot of this relies on the actions of Albany. He's in a very difficult situation. He does not feel a sense of loyalty or fealty to his wife. He sees that she has lost control, but he's loyal to King. and at the same, he's loyal to Lear, but he's also needs to protect England from an invasion. So you see how he's in a difficult situation. So let's see what he decides to do. Okay, so now we're going back to Gloucester's castle, which is Edmund's castle. Oswald has delivered to Regan the letter that Goneril promised to send. And he tries to deliver Goneril's letter to Edmund. Regan explains that Edmund has gone to look for his father and to kill him. Regan is now very jealous of Goneril. She wants Edmund as her own husband. So I told you that the love triangle was emerging. And it's interesting now that the women who were once very focused on supporting their husbands to gain power are now focusing all of their attention on the love and desire of Edmund. So he's really moved up in the ranks, but it just shows like the base desires of the women. Okay, so Regan, when you're ready.
But are my brother's powers set forth?
Hey, madam,
Himself in person there.
madam, with much ado, your sister is the better soldier.
Lord Edmund, spake not with your lord at home.
No, madam,
What might import my sister's letter to him?
I know not, lady.
Faith, he is posted hence on serious matter. It was great ignorance, Gloucester's eyes being out, to let him live. Where he arrives he moves. All hearts against us. Edmund, I think, is gone. In pity of his misery to dispatch, his nighted life, moreover, to descry the strength o' th' enemy.
I must needs him after him, madam, with my letter.
Our troops set forth tomorrow. Stay with us. The ways are dangerous.
I may not, madam. My lady charged my duty in this business.
Why should she write to Edmund? Might not you transport her purposes by word? Be like some things, I know not what. I'll love thee much. Let me unseal the letter.
Madam, I had rather.
I know your lady does not love her husband. I am sure of that. And at her late being here, she gave strange
Orleans?
oleads and most speaking looks to noble Edmund. I know you are of her bosom.
Aye, madam.
I speak in understanding. Yar I know't. Therefore I do advise you take this note. My lord is dead. Edmund and I have talked, and more convenient is he for my hand than for your lady's. You may gather more. If you do find him, pray you give him this. And when your mistress hears thus much from you, I pray desire her, call her wisdom to her. So fare you well. If you do chance to hear of that blind traitor, preferment falls on him that cuts him off.
Would I come meet him? Madam, I should show what party I do follow.
Fare thee well.
Okay, excellent. So a couple of important things. You know that Oswald is Goneril's servant. But here Regan is trying to intimidate him. She's trying to bribe him. She's trying to get him to let her see the letter that Goneril wrote for Edmund. And all of this, why? Because she's very jealous of her sister. So she says to him, I've noticed these strange oiliads. So that's basically significant glances, okay? So when you glance at someone significantly, what does that mean? She can see that there's some sort of either sexual attraction or that there's some sort of relationship between them that is very significant, okay? I wonder how the sisters would react upon learning Edmund is illegitimate. Well, he's not anymore. And I don't know if they would really care at this point. because he does have power. He's like the new cool guy at school. So everybody wants to be around him, wants to have some of his power also, because he just took that position quite easily. So it doesn't matter now about the legitimate, illegitimate thing. They want him for themselves. So now Regan's giving him something. Now they're both kind of fighting over the same man. So pretty shallow of them. Yes, however, they are supposed to be presented as morally corrupt, superficial women, which they were presented from the beginning when they played this love contest, right? And told Lear a bunch of lies about how much they love him. So it's not surprising now that they're presented as now, well, Goneril has had an extramarital affair with him, and Regan is clearly not mourning the loss of her husband, who was just killed like yesterday. So both of them are self-serving and easily able to move on now to the new love interest in both of their lives. Now, why is this important? I think also because now it gets to pin the sisters against each other. They had a common enemy, which was Lear. Now they have a common desire, which makes each other the common enemy. Do you see? And I think that's important, that now they're distracted from the war, they're distracted from Lear, because now they're both focusing on who's going to get Edmund. So he must be pretty awesome, I would think, if they're both willing to fight over him. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Back then, was it bad if you were kind of in a love triangle? Like, would you get punished, or like it's like today, like it doesn't matter?
Well, I think for women of privilege, it probably was frowned upon. It was probably very gossipy. But I mean, who's going to punish them when they're queens?
True, no one. They're so like above everyone, so I guess it wouldn't matter for them, right?
Right. Now, I'm sure that there would be gossip, and that would probably be very damaging. But again, you know, like, I think it probably still would have had a double standard. I think that's even true of today, where if a man has partners or an affair outside of marriage, it's a little bit more acceptable than a woman. I think that still is true personally. Maybe it's not, but I still kind of think that there's more slut shaming for women, and definitely not the same scenario for men. So I probably think that then and now it's the same, but because they are women of position and power, they were probably able to get away with it more easily.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Regan does make a good point, though. She says, my lord is dead. Edmund and I have talked, and more convenient is he for my hand than for your ladies. Goneril's already married to Albany. She doesn't have a husband, so isn't that convenient? Regan is saying, well, Edmund should be mine, not Goneril's, because her husband is still alive. So, the other reason why this scene is significant, because we find out that Regan says, it was great ignorance, Gloucester's eyes being out, to let him live. Where he arrives, he moves all hearts against us. So without even saying anything, but people seeing this poor, wretched, old, blind man walking around led by Tom o' Bedlam, of course he evokes sympathy everywhere he goes. And now the people know that the queen who's ruling them plucked his eyes out or was behind it. So you see that she's very much damaged her reputation with her subjects. And that's also not good. So, moving on to scene 6, unless you have any questions about that scene. Okay. Edgar persuades his father that they are at the top of Dover Cliff, and Gloucester tries to commit suicide. Edgar then pretends to find him at the foot of the cliff. The king appears in his total madness and talks with Gloucester. Cordelia's servants come looking for Lear, but he runs away from them. There are more rumors of war. Oswald, who is carrying Goneril's letter to Edmund, tries to kill Gloucester, but Edgar, now speaking like a peasant, defends his father. He kills Oswald and reads the letter and learns that Goneril wants Edmund to kill her husband so that she can become Edmund's wife. Edgar takes his father to a place of safety. So this is pretty significant. We haven't seen much come from Edgar. We saw that he was in survival mode. We see that he feels pity for Lear and for his father. But this scene, I think, is to add a little bit of comic relief, even though I do want to make it clear that Gloucester's feelings of absolute hopelessness, depression, and wanting to commit suicide, none of that is funny. But I think that the way that it's portrayed is supposed to add a little bit of comedic humor, or like just sort of take the heaviness of the play away for just a little bit. Okay, so he's trying to talk his father into the fact they are at the top of the cliff, and then if Gloucester just gets his toes to the edge, he'll fall off. Okay? And then he pretends, like he puts on this other voice that makes him sound like he was a peasant or a fisherman at the bottom of the cliff that found Gloucester after he fell from this very dramatic height, and says like, oh my God, you survived, you lived through that. Like, this is amazing, you're not meant to die. What's humorous is that when Gloucester allegedly falls off the cliff, he's kneeling, and he just quite literally falls forward onto flat ground. And he has no idea where he is because it's Edgar there. So it's a little bit humorous to imagine that he thinks he's falling off this cliff, but it's really just him falling onto the ground directly in front of him. So they're not near a cliff at all. It's just what Gloucester thinks he can visualize in his mind. Okay, so Gloucester, when you're ready.
When shall I come to the top of the same hill?
We do climb up it now. Look how we labor.
Methinks the ground is even.
Horrible steep. Hark! Do you hear the sea?
No, truly.
Why, then your other senses grow imperfect. By your eyes is anguish.
So may it be, indeed. Methinks thy voice is altered, and thou speakst in better phrase and matter than thou didst.
You're much deceived. In nothing am I changed, but in my garments.
Methinks you're better spoken.
Come on, sir. Here's the place. Stand still. How fearful and dizzy 'tis to cast one eyes on so low. The crows and coughs that wing the midway air show scarce so gross as beetles halfway down. Hangs one that gathers sampire dreadful trade. Methinks he seems no bigger than his head. The fishermen that walk upon the beach appear like mice, and yond tall anchoring bark, diminished to her cock a boy, almost too small for sight, the murmuring surge that on the unnumbered idle peeble shafts cannot be heard so high. I look no more, lest my brain turns, and the deficient sight topple down headlong.
Okay, so a couple of things I think are important is that Edgar's pretending that they're climbing up this steep hill, and Gloucester's like, I feel like the ground is even. How come you sound more educated and different than you did before? So he's starting to become a little bit suspicious, because I'm sure it's hard for Edgar to maintain his disguise. Now, one thing I do want to mention, he still is manipulating his father. But maybe we could forgive him because this manipulation is more for positive reasons. Like he's not going, so he doesn't kill himself. Whereas when we look at Edmund, who manipulated his father, it was for ill intent. Okay, and then Edgar does say in the motif of nothingness, once again, you're much deceived. In nothing am I changed, but in my garments, which is very ironic because he's completely changed, and he is not the beggar that the mad beggar that he's letting on. So Edgar kind of goes over the top with describing how tall the cliff is and how the fishermen below look like little mice, but he better stand back because his head is getting dizzy because they're so far up off the ground.
Do I go?
Yes, please.
Okay. Set me where you stand.
Give me your hand. You are now within a foot of the extreme verge, for all beneath the moon would I not leap upright.
Let go my hand. Here, friends, another purse, in it a jewel, well worth a poor man's taking, fairies and gods, prosper it with thee. Go thou further off. Bid me farewell, and let me hear thee going.
Now fare ye well, good sir.
With all my heart.
Why I do trifle thus with his despair is done to cure it.
O you mighty gods, this world I do renounce, and in your sights shake patiently my great affliction off, if I could bear it longer and not fall. To quarrel with your great opposeless wills, my snuff and loathed part of nature should burn itself out. If Edgar live, oh bless him. Now, fellow, fare thee well.
Gone, sir, farewell. And yet I know not how conceit may rob the treasury of life when life itself yields to the theft. Had he been where he thought, by this had thought been past, alive or dead. Ho, you, sir, friend, hear you, sir, speak. Thus might be past indeed, yet he revives. What are you, sir?
Away, and let me die.
Hadst thou been aught but gossamer feathers, air, so many fathom down precipitating, thoughts shivered like an egg, but thou dost breathe. Hast heavy substance, bleedst not, speakst, art sound. 10 masts at each make not the altitude, which thou hast perpendicularly fell. Thy life's a miracle. Speak yet again.
But have I fallen or no?
From the dread summit of this chalky bourne, look up a height. The shrill gorged lark so far cannot be seen or heard. Do but look up.
Okay, so a couple of interesting things here. So when Edgar says, "Gone, sir, farewell," and he has this little thought in his mind, and then on line 45, he says he's acting in a new persona, alive or dead. Oh, you, sir, friend, hear you, speak, right? Thus might he pass, indeed he revives. What are you, sir? So he's pretending as if Gloucester fell from this height and that he's a new person that's down at the bottom of the cliff. And Gloucester just says, like, he's hoping, away and let me die. Now, the fact that he didn't sustain such dramatic injuries, you would think would clue him in that he didn't actually fall that far. But Edgar ends up exaggerating the height by saying, like, the 10 masts was the height of the altitude, like a mast of a ship, right? That's how high up you were. But you breathe, no bones are broken, you can speak, I think you're okay. Your life's a miracle. So he's trying to give him hopefulness because he knows that the act of suicide is unnatural. He doesn't want him to do it. And he's hoping that this little manipulation will give Gloucester a revival in his sense of wanting to live. Because as you see, his last words that he thinks he says before he dies is, if Edgar live, oh bless him. He still wants his son to know that he's sorry and that he loves him. Okay, so I guess he's insisting to die as a result of becoming suspicious to Edgar when he says, let me die. You could say that. I just think that he was hoping that he would die, but Edgar is pretending he's someone else, and it seems that Gloucester's questioning it, but whether he believes it or not, he's going to move on, because this is not where things end for Gloucester. Where he says, have I fallen or no? And Edgar says again, from the dread summit of this chalky bourne, look up at the height. So he's pretending he doesn't even know that he's blind. Like, I can't believe it that you survived. It's amazing. Okay, so let's carry on with Gloucester.
Alack, I have no eyes. Is it wretch deprived that benefit to end itself by death? 'Twas yet some comfort when misery could beguile the tyrant's rage and frustrate his proud will.
Give me your arm. Up. So how is it? Feel you your legs? You stand.
Too well, too well.
This is above all strangeness. Upon the crown of the cliff, what thing was that which parted from you?
A poor unfortunate beggar.
As I stood here below, methought his eyes were 2 full moons. He had 1,000 noses, horns whelked and waved like the unrigid sea. It was some fiend, therefore, thou happy father. Think that the clearest gods who make them honors of men's impossibilities have preserved thee.
I do remember now. Henceforth I'll bear affliction till it do cry out itself. Enough, enough, and die. That thing you speak of, I took it for a man. Often 'twould say, defend. He let me to that place.
Bear free and patient thoughts, but who comes here? The safer sense will never accommodate his master thus.
Okay, sorry, before Lear enters, I just wanted to discuss this briefly. So Edgar says, like, who was that up there with you? And he's described as, of course, that picture there with the curvy horns and the 1,000 noses and the big eyes, as if he's a fiend, and a fiend is basically a devil. So what he is saying here is essentially from line 69 to 74, is that divine intervention must have saved you from your fall. So giving purpose to his life, that this is not the time to die. That was not your fate. Okay. He also refers to him as happy father a couple of times, but not in the way that we would think he's referring to him as father. It's more of a term of endearment because he still has not revealed himself to his father yet. Okay. So Edgar says, bear free and patient thought. So don't feel guilty. Don't reproach yourself. There's a reason for you to live. Some divine intervention has prevented you from dying, so it was not your time. Take advantage of it while you can. And as this is happening, okay, so Gloucester just tried to commit suicide, and Lear enters, fantastically dressed with wild flowers, and he's, kind of flitting about this field, and he's really in high rage, meaning like very mad. Okay, Lear, when you're ready.
Okay. No, they cannot touch me for coining. I am the king himself.
O thou side-piercing sight!
Nature's above art in that respect. There's your press money. That fellow handles his bow like a crowd keeper. Draw me a clothier's yard. Look, a mouse. Peace. This piece of toasted cheese will do it. There's my gauntlet. I'll prove it on a giant. Bring up the brown bills. Oh, well-flown bird. It's clout. Hugh, give the word.
Sweet marjoram.
Pass.
I know that voice.
Ha, Goneril with a white beard. They flattered me like a dog and told me I had the white hairs in my beard. Here, the black ones were there. To say aye and no to everything that I said aye and no to was no good divinity. When the rain came to wet me once and the wind to make me chatter, when the thunder would not peace at my bidding, there I found him. There I smelt him out. You go to, they are not men o their words. They told me I was everything. 'Tis a lie. I am not ague-proof.
Okay, good. So let's talk about this for a second. So line 86, Lear says, nature's above art in that respect. This is the essence of the play. A born king can never lose his natural rights. It's the divine right of kings. So he's reinforcing that even though he gave everything up, he really should not lose his natural rights to being king. Okay? Even though he gave it up. Then he's having these moments, like that is, a very thoughtful thing for him to say. It's true. But then he's imagining like a little mouse that he's going to feed cheese to, okay? And then some of these confusing words he's saying, that he's imagining the sound of an arrow, the idea of a gauntlet. So some of the things, like the idea he's going to throw down a challenge here. Some make sense, some don't make sense. And when Edgar sees it, he says, "Sweet marjoram." This is same reference in Hamlet, where they thought that in Elizabethan times that there were certain spices or flowers or plants that could remedy certain things. So marjoram was thought to remedy diseases of the brain. Now, when Gloucester says, "I hear that voice," Lear says he mistakens Gloucester for Goneril. Why? Because he is obsessed with their cruelty. So he can see Gloucester, but says that it's Goneril. He says, Goneril with a white beard? Then he's talking about them. They flattered me like a dog. They said yes to everything and no to everything. I said yes, I said no. Then he remembers about the rain and the torture and the feelings that he had being out in the cold. And, was it the weather that enabled to reveal themselves to him? He says, "I found them, I smelt them out." Okay, so the storm made him realize the truth of his daughters. And he says that, he fell victim to flattery, and he realizes finally that I'm not og-proof, meaning I'm not invincible. Okay, let's carry on.
The trick of that voice I do well remember. It's not the king.
Aye, every inch a king. When I do stare, see how the subject quakes. I pardon that man's life. What was thy cause? Adultery? Thou shalt not die. Die for adultery? No. The wren goes to it, and the small gilded fly does lecker in my sight. Let copulation thrive, for Gloucester's bastard son was kinder to his father than my daughters. Got twined a lawful sheep. To it luxury, pell-mell, for I lack soldiers. Beyond simpering dame, whose face between her forks presages snow. That minces virtue and does shake the head. To hear of pleasure's name, the fitchy nor the spoiled horses goes to it, with a more riotous appetite. Down from the waist they are centaurs, though women all above. But to the girdle to the gods inherit, beneath is all the fiends, there's hell, there's darkness. There's the sulphurous pit, burning, scalding, stench conception. Fie, 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 pa, pa. Give me an ounce of civet, good apothecary, to soothe my imagination. Where's money for thee?
Oh, let me kiss that hand.
Let me wipe it first. It smells of mortality.
Oh, ruined piece of nature, this great world shall so wear out to naught. Dost thou know me?
I remember thine eyes well enough. Dost thou squiny at me? No, do thy worst, blind Cupid. I'll not love. Read thou this challenge. Mark but the pen of it.
Were all thy letters suns I could not see.
I would not take this from report. It is, and my heart breaks at it.
Read.
What, with the case of eyes?
Oh, are you there with me? No eyes in your head, nor no money in your purse. Your eyes are in a heavy case, your purse in the light. Yet you see how this world goes.
I see it feelingly.
What, art mad? A man may see how this world goes with no eyes. Look with thine ears. See how yon justice rail upon yon simple thief. Hark, in thine ear, change places, and handy dandy, which is the justice, which is the thief. Thus hast seen a farmer's dog bark at a beggar?
Ay, sir.
And a creature run from the cur. There thou mightst behold the great image of authority. A dog's obeyed in office. Thou rascal beetle, hold thy bloody hand. Why dost thou lash that whore? Rip thine own back. Thou hotly lust to use her in thy kind, for which thou whippest her. The usurer hangs the cozener. Thorough tattered clothes with small vices do appear. Robes and furred gowns hide all. Plate sin with gold, and a shorn lance of justice heartless breaks. Armed in rags, a pygmy strong does pierce it. None does offend, none, I say, none. I'll able him. Take that of me, my friend, who have the power to seal the accuser's lips. Get thee glass eyes, and like a scurvy politician, seem to see things thou dost not. Now. Pull off my boots. Harder so.
Oh, matter and impertinency mixed, reason and madness.
Can we just take a break there for 1 second? I want to go over a couple of things. Okay, so we're going to go back to when he says every inch a king. And of course, I hope you know what he's referring to. In this passage, it's kind of confusing because there's a lot of references to sex and lechery and fornication and deviance and sin. So he seems to have like this obsessive interest in sex. And why is that? I think that it reveals a few things, like this intense fear he seems to have of women, probably most likely from the experience he's had with his daughters. But on another level, it has resulted in his misery and his misogynistic feelings. And misogyny basically means woman hating, okay? Why? Because he looks at women as, I think, lecherous, as sinful, and he says when he's talking about centaurs, those are the creatures that are half horse and half human. Is a sex thing like reverse Oedipus complex? It would actually be the Electra complex. That's girls in competition with their mothers for their fathers. However, the mother role is missing here, and I wonder if there's something to do with that. But in a way, I think that he's threatened by them, and he equates power with sexual prowess, and because he is older, probably that's something that he doesn't have as much of anymore. And it's like a lot of these things are sort of having this negative impact on him, and he's going through moments of sanity and insanity, which is what Edgar says in line 171, that matter and impertinency mixed, reason in madness. So I do want to draw your attention to sometimes when he's speaking in prose, that can often show his madness, but when he's speaking in verse, even though it is confusing and he's seeing things, he does have, like, there's some sense in what he's saying. So he says that, going back to the centaurs, they're the creatures that are half horse and half human, but he says that, down to the waist, women belong to gods, but below the waist, they belong to devils. Okay, and that's obviously in response to his two daughters, which we now see who have become obsessed sexually with Edmund. So it's kind of linking sex and power together. Edmund right now is one of the more powerful men in Britain, and of course the two sisters want to have that relationship with him. So it's like a lot going on. Like, has copulation, has begotten children led to his downfall? I guess you can say in some way. But I think that he just has difficulty coping with all the different feelings that he's happening, okay, that he's experiencing. And he does, and even Gloucester says that this great world shall so wear out to naught. Like the world is almost collapsing into ruin. Okay? So that's kind of what I wanted to mention. It's a little confusing, but as long as you can kind of gather from that he's going through a lot, but he does have this slight obsession with his daughters and with sexuality, and power. So that dynamic is all kind of working together. Then in the next passage, I did want to mention briefly on line 53, he begins to condemn hypocrisy. Okay, and that's just what he's looking at. There's a lot of references to the dogs there. And he's like, there's different, they seem to represent different types of things. That they are servile creatures until they are given authority. Then there's more about adultery. There's stuff about usurers that condemn other things. So all you really need to know here is that he's condemning hypocrisy, that he doesn't like the double side of things. So through tattered clothes, small vices do appear, robes and furred gowns hide all. Plates ends with gold, and the strong lance of justice hurtless breaks. Okay? So I think what's important here is to look at this metaphor. Through tattered clothes, small vices do appear, robes and furred gowns hide all. Right? The small vices were able to be hidden by his kingly robes, but with those removed, they're exposed. So is he saying that, extending that to his daughters, that once you take away their power, that their actual vices will be more easily accessible, just as what happened in his own situation. Once you took away his title as king, then you started to see all of his flaws as a person. Okay? And Edgar acknowledges that there's sense mixed in with this nonsense. So it's not until a little bit later when he rests and he sees Cordelia that there's a sense of ease in his mind, or his mind is put at peace. Okay, so now Lear is taunting Gloucester about his blindness. So he sees that he's suffering, but he seems to understand the injustices that he's experienced more. So he still can't quite put himself into Gloucester's shoes because he himself is battling his own madness. Okay, so Lear, when you're ready.
Okay. If thou wilt weep my fortunes, take my eyes. I know thee well enough. Thy name is Gloucester. Thou must be patient. We came crying hither. Thou know'st the first time that we smell the air, we wail and cry. I'll preach to thee. Mark.
Alack, alack, the day.
When we are born, we cry that we are come to this great stage of fools. This a good block. It were a delicate stratagem to shoe a troop of horse with felt. I put it in proof. And when I have stolen upon these son-in-laws, then kill, 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 kill.
Oh, here he is. Lay a hand upon him, sir. Your most dear daughter.
No rescue? What, a prisoner? I am even the natural fool of fortune. Use me well. You shall have ransom. Let me have surgeons. I am cut to the brains.
You shall have anything.
No seconds? All myself? Why, this would make a man assault. This to use his eyes for garden water pots. I, and laying autumn's dust, I will die bravely like a smug bridegroom. But I will be jovial. Come, come. I am a king, masters. Know you that?
You are a royal one, and we obey you.
Then there's life in it. Come and you get it. You shall get it by running. Sa, sa, sa.
Okay, so this kind of almost reminds me of Lord of the Flies, you know, like kill, 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 kill the beast. So classic Shakespeare, we have a metaphor of the great stage of fools, right? That life, the stage is a metaphor of life. Then Lear talks about a hat that he's going to use, and he's going to kill, 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 and starts to kind of run around. And when the gentleman says, like, here you are trying to corral him back, he says, I am even the natural fool of fortune, so born for fortune to make a fool of me. He does acknowledge, though, let me have surgeons, I'm cut to the brains. Okay, so he's imagining that there's a wound on his head that he needs to have repaired. But what we all know, that the wound that he does have in his head cannot be repaired. He's gone insane. So when he says that now, it's been a transition into full-blown madness. And they try to reassure him that you shall have anything, right? And he does ask, do you know who I am, right? I am the king. So then again, if you're interested, there's a few more puns about ending of his life and sexual climax. So he's still focused on that. And then he begins to run away, and he's using like a hunting cry used to encourage the hounds. So he uses that cry as he's running away, as if he's, he's the prey, and the gentleman is going to follow him like a dog until he gets him. So Lear is saying things that make sense, but also clouded and veiled in things that are very confusing, very deep hurt that he's feeling, that are coming out in a lot of different ways. And most of it is obsessing about his daughters, his sex, and his lack of power. So all of those things are kind of mixed into one. So he runs, there's people that are trying to follow him, and now we're going to get back to the Edgar and Gloucester situation.
Sight most pitiful in the meanest wretch. Past speaking of in a king, thou hast one daughter, who redeems nature from the general curse which twine have brought her to.
Hail, gentle sir.
Sir, speed you, what's your will?
Do you hear aught, sir, of a battle toward?
Most sir and vulgar, every one hears that, which can distinguish sound.
But by your favor, how near's the other army?
Near, and on speedy foot, the main descry stands on how really the fought.
I thank you, sir, that's all.
The queen on special causes here, her army is moved on.
I thank you, sir.
You ever gentle gods, take my breath from me. Let not my worser spirit tempt me again to die before you please.
Well, pray you, father.
Now, good sir, what are you?
A most poor man, made tame to fortune's blows, who by the art of known and feeling sorrows am pregnant to good pity. Give me your hand, I'll lead you to some biding.
Hearty thanks, the bounty and the benison of heaven to boot and boot.
Okay, so they're going to slowly walk away. Gloucester has said, let not my worser spirit tempt me again to die before you please. So he feels that he doesn't want what he refers to as a bad angel to tempt him to commit suicide. So he has come to terms with what he's done, and he's going to live on. So Edgar and Gloucester begin to leave, and here's that like sneering Oswald that comes back onto the scene, and he's just like, yes, I found him, gonna kill him and get the reward money for doing so. So Oswald, who's my Oswald? Did Oswald go to the bathroom? Can somebody be Oswald, please?
I'll do it, miss.
Thank you.
Wait, start now?
Yes, please.
I'll proclaim thee prize, most happy. The eyeless head of thine was first spring fish to raise my fortunes. Thou, O unhappy traitor, briefly thy myself remember. The sword is out that must destroy thee.
Now let thy friendly hand put strength enough to it.
Wherefore, bold peasant, darest thou support a published traitor? Hence, least that in the infection of his fortune take, like hold on thee, let go his arm.
Shall not let go, sir, without further occasion.
He's putting on an accent so nobody knows that he's Edgar, and he's out of these people like to be in total camouflage.
Let go, slave, or thou diest.
Good gentlemen, go your gate, and let poor Volk pass, and should have been swaggered out of my life. 'Twould not have been so long as 'tis by the fortnight. Nay, come not near the old man. Keep out, Chevalier, or is try whether you costard or my ballow be the harder. Chill be plain with you.
Okay, so just putting on an accent. So what he says is, good sir, you get on your own way now and let ordinary people go past. If I could have been scared out of my life by swaggering like yours, I would never have lived so long, not by a whole fortnight. Now, don't you come any closer to the old man, keep away, or I promise you, I'll test which is harder, your head or my cudgel. I'm telling you straight.
Do we start?
Yes, please.
Out on hill. I already said out downhill.
Edgar?
Oh, sorry. Chill, pick your teeth, sir. Come, no matter for your foins.
Slave, thou hast slain me. Villain, take my purse. If there ever thou retrieve bury my body, and give the letters which thou findest about me to Edmund Earl Gloucester, seek him out upon the British party. Oh, ultimately death.
Well, that's not the most convincing death, but yes. So Oswald has been injured terribly by Edgar, and he dies, but not before he says, give this letter to the Earl of Gloucester. And so that's how Edgar gets this important information he can take to Albany, and boom, it's going to work out good for him.
I know thee well, a serviceable villain, as duteous to the vices of thy mistress, as badness would desire.
What, is he dead?
Sir, you down, father, rest you. Let's see these pockets. The letters that he speaks of may be my friends. He's dead. I am only sorry he had no other deathsman. Let us see. Leave gentle wax and manners, blame us not. To know our enemies' minds, we rip their hearts. Their papers is more lawful. Let our reciprocal vows be remembered. You have many opportunities to cut him off. If your will want not, time and place will be fruitfully offered. There is nothing done if you return the conqueror, then am I the prisoner and his bed my gaol. From the loathed warmth whereof deliver me, and supply the place for your labor. Your wife, so I would say, affectionate servant Goneril. O indistinguished space of woman's will, a plot upon her virtuous husband's life, and the exchange, my brother, here in the sands, thee I'll rake up the post unsanctified of murderous lechers, and in the mature time with this ungracious paper strike the sight of the death practiced duke. For him 'tis well, that of thy death and business I can tell.
The king is mad. How stiff is my vile sense that I stand up and have ingenuous feeling of my huge sorrows. Better I were distract, so should my thoughts be severed from my griefs, and woes by wrong imagination lose the knowledge of themselves.
Give me your hand. Far off methinks I hear the beaten drum. Come, father, I'll bestow you with a friend.
Okay, great. So, yeah, Edgar did kill Oswald. He warned him, and Oswald didn't listen, so Edgar had to do it, I guess, he thinks. And he said that he's a rogue who will do any dishonest job. Of course, he wasn't going to let his father go with Oswald or kill him there. He was going to have to stand up and defend his father. So Edgar actually makes a very dramatic development in this scene, okay? Also, he reads the letter sent by Goneril to Edmund saying that basically, I'm yours forever, I want you to kill him, then I will be your wife. And he says that Goneril's lust seems to know no limits. It seems that this play doesn't have a winner at all. Everyone is either getting killed or injured. That's a classic tragedy, but in the end, there will be people left to restore order. But in a tragedy, all of the people that are corrupt have to die, including some people who are collateral damage. Okay? So, he's shocked by the amount of lust that Goneril could possibly have, that she's going to kill her virtuous husband for that evil Edmund. And this is where he also is going to, he says, I'll rake up the most unsanctified and murderous lechers, and at the right time, I'm going to find Albany and I'm going to deal with this business. So Edgar, he's seizing the moment now to use this opportunity to reinstate himself positively with those that matter. Okay, he's going to take Gloucester to a place that he is safe. So let us finish scene 4. Finally, we have a beautiful moment between father and daughter. Okay, so in the French camp, we have Cordelia, Kent, the doctor, and a gentleman. So Kent has revealed himself to Cordelia, and they wait for Lear to wake up. At first, he is confused, but at last he recognizes Cordelia, his daughter. The war is coming closer.
O thou good Kent, how shall I live and work to match thy goodness? My life will be too short, and every measure fail me.
To be acknowledged, madam, is overpaid. All my reports go with the modest truth, no more nor clipped, but so.
Be better suited, these weeds are memories of those worser hours. I prithee, put 'em off.
Pardon, dear madam, yet to be known shortens my made intent. My boon I make it that you know me not, till time and I think meet.
Then bet so, my good lord. How does the king?
Madam, still, or who's the doctor?
I'm still the doctor, right? Okay. Madam, sleep still.
O you kind gods, cure this great breach in his abused nature, the untuned and jarring sense. O wind up of this child-changed father.
So please, your majesty, that we may wake the king, he held sleep long.
Be governed by your knowledge, and proceed in the sway of your own will. Is he arrayed?
I, madam, in the heaviness of sleep, we put fresh garments on him. Be by good, madam. When we do awake him, I doubt not for his temperance.
Very well.
Please you, draw near, louder the music, dear.
O my dear father, restoration hang thy medicine on my lips, and let this kiss repair those violent harms that my 2 sisters have in thy reverence made.
Kind and dear princess.
Had you not been their father, these white flakes did challenge pity of them. Was this a face to be opposed against the warring winds, to stand against the deep dread-bolted thunder? In the most terrible and nimble stroke of quick cross lightning to watch, poor Perdue, with this thin helm, mine enemy's dog, though he had bit me, should have stood that night against my fire. And wast thou fain, poor father, to hovel thee with swine and rogues forlorn, in short and musty straw? Alack, alack! 'Tis wonder that thy life and wits at once had not concluded at all. He wakes, speak to him.
Madam, to you, this is fittest.
How does my royal lord? How fares your majesty?
You do me wrong to take me out of the grave. Thou art a soul in bliss, but I am bound upon a wheel of fire that my own tears do scour like molten lead.
Sir, do you know me?
You are a spirit, I know. Where did you die?
Still, far wide.
He's scarce awake. Let him alone a while.
Where have I been? Where am I? Fair daylight. I am mightily abused. I should even die with pity to see another thus. I know not what to say. I will not swear these are my hands. Let's see. Well, I feel this pinprick. Would I were assured of my condition.
Oh, look upon me, sir, and hold your hand in benediction o'er me. No, sir, you must not kneel.
Pray do not mock me. I am a very foolish, fond old man, fourscore and upward, none hour more or less, and to deal plainly, I fear I am not in my perfect mind. Methinks I should know you and know this man, yet I am doubtful, for I am mainly ignorant what place this is, and all the skill I have. Remembers not these garments, nor I know not where I did lodge last night. Do not laugh at me, for as I am a man, I think this lady do be my child Cordelia.
And so I am.
Be your tears wet? Yes, faith. I pray, weep not. If you have poison for me, I will drink it. I know you do not love me, for your sisters have, as I do remember, done me wrong. You have some cause, they have not.
No cause, no cause.
Am I in France?
In your own kingdom, sir.
Do not abuse me.
Be comforted, good madam. The great rage you see is killed in him, and yet it is danger to make him even older the time he has lost. Desire him to go in, trouble him no further till further settling.
Will it please your highness walk?
You must bear with me. Pray you now, forget and forgive. I am old and foolish.
Holds it true, sir, that Duke of Cornwall was so slain?
Most certain, sir.
Who is the conductor of his people?
As 'tis said, the bastard son of Gloucester.
They say Edgar, his banished son, is with the Earl of Kent in Germany.
Report is changeable. 'Tis time to look about. The powers of the kingdom approach apace.
The aberriment is like to be bloody. Fare you well, sir.
My point and period will be thoroughly rout, or well, or ill, as this day's battles fought.
Okay, thank you. Man, it gets me every time when I read this passage, just imagining the interaction between the two. So there's a lot of Christian images of heaven and hell in the passage. Asking, do you take me out of the grave? At first he thinks that Cordelia is like a spirit, whether she's a ghost or an angel, but he says, upon a wheel of fire that mine own tears do scald like molten lead. So you get that very like Dante-esque version of hell, right? She says, do you know me? And that he still is not quite there with her. And the doctor says, he's just waking up. And he asks all these questions like, where have I been? Where am I? Is it daylight? I am mightily abused. So he knows that something bad has happened to him. And then what he tries to do is he tries to get down and kneel to beg her for forgiveness. So another religious illusion. And he says, do not mock me. I'm a very foolish, fond old man. And he says, it can't be true. Don't laugh at me. For as I am a man, I think this lady to be my child Cordelia. So what's interesting is that he acknowledges that he is old and foolish, but he doesn't call himself a king. He calls himself a man, right? And all she says in response to him is, so I am, and no cause, no cause. So he's shocked when he finally realizes that it's Cordelia. He says, be your tears wet? I pray weep not. And this is what gets me. He says, if you have poison for me, I will drink it. I know you do not love me, for your sisters have, as I do remember, done me wrong. You have some cause, they do not. So he says, if you want, give me poison. I wronged you, and I will die right now in front of you. You have a cause to be cruel to me. They don't. And all she can say amidst her tears is no cause, no cause. Total and unconditional love she has for him. So he again asked for her forgiveness. You must bear with me. Pray you now, forget and forgive. I am old and foolish. So he has realized, he has begged for forgiveness, and that's all she was going to give him. So this beautiful moment of them together, and unfortunately, it is very short-lived, because as they leave to go for a walk, Kent and the gentleman are having this conversation about the fact that the troops are getting very close, and Edmund is a problem, and there is going to be a battle that, good or bad, whatever happens, we've got to end it this way, through this battle. So that prepares us for Act 5. So if it couldn't get any more intense, it's going to. Okay, any questions about Act 4? No? Okay, so here's the plan. I think you all should take about a 10-minute break to stretch or have a bio break. Then what I would like for you to do is work on your Act 4 questions. Finish those this weekend so we can take them up. And sorry, did someone put their mic on? Oh, Marco, go ahead.
Regarding the whole Edgar situation. So at the end of scene 6, he says father, so he's revealing to Gloucester that his identity is Edgar, right?
No, so he's referred to him line 250 and a few other times in that scene, but he refers to him at father as a term of endearment.
Okay, that makes more sense to me, because I thought that was weird. I was like, okay.
Exactly. So that's a lot of people have asked that, is he acknowledging Gloucester as his father? No, it'd be a term of endearment. That when you saw
Okay. Because I would figure Gloucester have a bigger reaction if, So Edgar doesn't know yet that Edmund set him up, because the letter just says, just talks about their affair, right? Or Granos' attempt at one.
No,
right? It doesn't really talk about.
He does know. He does know that he set him up, because he found out, obviously that, Gloucester's been blinded, and that's because he was betrayed by Edmund. So he's put it together that Edmund also.
Okay. I see. Okay.
No, good question. Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, sorry. My question was basically the same as Marco's, but he also says and the exchange, my brother, because he's referring to Edmund, and I'm kind of confused because shouldn't Gloucester have heard that too? If it's because it doesn't say aside or anything.
Well, that's right. So what happens is, if you look at line 150, he says, "Sit you down, father, rest you." Now, that's a literal reference. Does he want to be recognized? I don't think at this point. Now, I know what happens later, so I can tell you that right now, it's just, it would be like saying to anybody's grandma, grandma, as a term of endearment, not to be disrespectful, right? So in this case, I think he's using father as a term of endearment, and he sits Gloucester down, and then he moves away to read the letter. But it's not really an aside that Gloucester's just in the background resting, but he doesn't hear when he says, "and exchange my brother." So Gloucester doesn't hear that.
Oh, so this is a matter of just not being able to see the play, which is why we might not misinterpret these, texts, for example. Because in the play, I would imagine the person playing Edgar would be whispering, or it will show that Gloucester can't necessarily hear him when he says that line.
Absolutely. So, and that's another thing. We don't have stage directions. So a lot of times when we're reading this, everybody just thinks that all the characters are standing in one big semicircle talking to each other, but that's not true. Sometimes you have characters that are at the back of the stage that are, sharpening their swords in the background, or you have, women in the corner talking. They're all present on stage, but the action does not always involve everybody. Okay, so in this case, he makes this realization, but Gloucester's not there to hear it. He's resting by the side of a tree, and then Edgar goes to read it and has this sort of like internal dialogue that has to be out loud so the audience can hear it. And so then all he says, like, the king is mad, and then they say, give me your hand. So he goes back to the tree to get him and picks him up and says, I'm going to take you somewhere safe. Okay, so we will find out later that there is a reunion between father and son, but he still has not revealed himself to his father yet. Okay, so I think it would be great for you guys to see the movie, and that way it'll make a little bit more sense where characters are situated during scenes, because they most certainly don't overhear everything, right? Okay, so we'll take a break. You do Act 4 questions, and then you're going to work on those 3 quote passages, like the practice passages, and I will create a response to one of them. And I'll post that so you can see sort of what I'm looking for, okay? All right, so you guys have lots to work on. I'm going to get started, but do take a break because we've been reading a lot, okay? And I'll be right back.